5 seasons, 8 long years, and millions of hearts prepared for this very moment. And now, it is finally here. The chosen season 6 episode 1 has arrived, and if you thought you were ready, I promise you, nothing could have truly prepared you for what unfolds in those very first minutes. Everything that The Chosen has been building toward, every miracle, every conversation by the Sea of Galilee, every quiet moment between Jesus and his disciples, all of it was leading straight to this. Season 6 is not just another chapter of this incredible series. Creator Dallas Jenkins himself called it the biggest season they have ever done, without even a close second. And after watching episode 1, those words do not feel like hype at all. They feel like an understatement. The season carries one singular, devastating focus: the final 24 hours of Jesus Christ's life on earth, the events of Good Friday. And episode 1 drops you right into the deep end of that darkness, without a single moment to catch your breath. There is no warm-up. There is no gentle transition. The moment the episode opens, the world of The Chosen has already shifted into something far heavier, far more urgent, and far more heartbreaking than anything we have seen before. We pick up exactly where Season 5 left off, at the Garden of Gethsemane, in the raw, terrible aftermath of the arrest of Jesus. That moment, the moment Judas sealed the fate of his closest friend with nothing more than a kiss, has already happened. And now the world that the disciples have known for 3 years is shattering in real time around them. What Dallas Jenkins and his team captured here is something that Bible readers have often skipped over without thinking deeply about. What actually happened to those disciples in the immediate seconds and minutes after Jesus was taken away? What did they say to each other? Where did they go? What did their faces look like as they walked away from that garden knowing they could not stop what had just begun? Episode 1 gives us a deeply human, deeply plausible answer to all of those questions, and it is genuinely difficult to watch. The disciples are scattered, confused, and terrified. Jenkins himself described this as the kind of stuff we don't always think about, and that description is exactly right. The show does something remarkable here by slowing down and sitting inside the emotional chaos of that moment rather than rushing past it to get to the next plot point. You feel the weight of their helplessness. You feel the silence where there should have been voices defending Jesus, and you feel how quickly the world can fall apart around the people who love someone most. The male disciples, now fully aware that they could be next on the list of people the authorities want to arrest, are frantically trying to process what just happened while also desperately trying to figure out what comes next. And then comes the question that hangs over everything like a storm cloud. Where is Judas? That question is one of the most gut-wrenching threads running through this first episode. Because Judas is not with them. Luke Dimien, who has played Judas across multiple seasons with incredible nuance and humanity, is now living in the aftermath of a betrayal he perhaps never fully thought through to its final conclusion. The show has always been careful to portray Judas not as a cartoonish villain but as a deeply flawed human being who made a catastrophic choice. And episode 1 begins to show us the crumbling reality of what that choice has cost him. We see a man already beginning to understand that the 30 pieces of silver in his hands are not a reward. They are a weight he will never be able to put down. Meanwhile, Jesus himself is being led away into the night, and this is where Jonathan Rumi delivers the kind of performance that reminds you why this show has reached over 280 million viewers worldwide. Jonathan has spoken in multiple interviews about how filming Season 6 was one of the hardest experiences of his life, and you can feel every ounce of that in his portrayal. The calm that Jesus carries in the face of everything happening to him is not passive. It is not detachment. It is something far more powerful. It is a man who knows exactly where this road leads and has chosen, fully and completely, to walk it anyway. Every step Jesus takes in episode 1 feels intentional. Every moment of silence feels deliberate. And it makes the scenes that follow almost unbearable to watch, because you keep hoping someone will step in and stop what is coming, even though you already know they will not. The pacing of this episode is unlike anything The Chosen has done before. Dallas Jenkins and his team chose to tell this story with an intensity and urgency that feels completely different from the earlier seasons. There are no casual conversations here. There is not a single throwaway moment. Actor Abe Bueno-Jalad, who plays Big James on the series, said before the season premiered that every single scene this season has wheels turning, that people are desperately trying to stop something and are unable to, and episode 1 proves that description perfectly. The drama is relentless, the stakes are total, and the emotional pull is unlike anything this show has asked of its audience before. Production on Season 6 began in April 2025 and ran for 86 days, making it the longest shoot in the entire history of the series. Filming took place across Texas, Utah, and Italy, with the crucifixion sequences shot on location in Matera, Italy. The sheer scale of what was undertaken to bring these episodes to life is visible in every frame of Episode 1. The production design, the cinematography, and the performances all carry a gravity and a grandeur that feel worthy of the story being told. This is not a show cutting corners on the most important season it will ever produce. Every single detail was handled with extraordinary care, and you feel that care in every scene of this opening episode. The official synopsis for Season 6 sets the tone with words that are almost impossible to read without feeling something shift deep inside you. The hour has come. Before the sun sets, Jesus of Nazareth will be dead. That is how this season announces itself. Not with a question. Not with uncertainty. With a declaration. And Episode 1 carries that weight in every single frame. Pharisees call what is happening justice. Romans call it peace. But the people who have walked alongside Jesus for 3 years, the ones who left everything to follow him, call it something else entirely. They call it murder. And you feel that collision of perspectives in this first episode more powerfully than words can fully describe. After the chaos of the Garden of Gethsemane, Episode 1 moves forward with Jesus being brought before Annas for the first round of questioning. Now, this is something that casual Bible readers often breeze right past, but The Chosen slows down and lets this scene breathe in a way that makes it genuinely one of the most tense and well-crafted sequences the show has ever produced. Annas, though no longer serving as the official high priest, is a man of enormous influence, deep cunning, and institutional power. He has been watching Jesus for a long time, and now that Jesus is finally standing before him in chains, Annas wants answers, real answers, the kind that can be used against him in the trials that are coming. The interrogation is structured around 2 central lines of attack. First, Annas presses Jesus about his disciples. Who they are, where they come from, what they represent. Is one of them a zealot? Does he associate with people considered unclean? Does he eat with tax collectors and women of questionable reputation? Every question is designed not to seek truth, but to build a case. Every question is a trap dressed up as curiosity. And what makes Jonathan Roumie's performance in this scene so remarkable is the way he plays Jesus' response. Not with defensiveness, not with anger, but with an absolute, unshakable steadiness that makes Annas look small by comparison, even though Annas holds all the institutional power in the room. Then Annas turns to the second line of attack, Jesus' teachings. Is he calling for violence against Rome? Would he be willing to stop teaching if ordered? Is he inciting rebellion under the cover of spiritual language? And again, Jesus answers in the same way he has answered every challenge across 5 seasons of the show, by pointing back to his own record. He has taught openly. He has hidden nothing. There is no secret agenda, no whispered conspiracy, no hidden movement being organized in the shadows. Everything Jesus has said and done, he has done in front of everyone. Why are you asking me, he says. Ask the people who heard me. It is a brilliant answer, and it is an answer that infuriates everyone in that room because it is completely, undeniably correct. And then comes one of the most difficult moments in the entire episode. An officer standing near Jesus strikes him.
Just like that.
Without warning, without justification, without any legal or moral basis whatsoever. The blow lands, and the room goes quiet for a beat. And in that beat, you realize that this is only the beginning. This single act of violence, this one strike against a man who has done nothing wrong, is the opening note of a symphony of cruelty that will crescendo through the rest of the season. The Chosen handles this moment with remarkable restraint compared to something like the Passion of the Christ. The violence is real and it is felt, but it is not gratuitous. It does not need to be. The weight of what just happened is communicated entirely through Jonathan Roumie's response, steady, unwavering, and heartbreaking all at once. What makes this scene even more layered is the staging behind it. Caiaphas, the actual high priest, is watching this entire interrogation from the back to figure out if there is any way to stop what is happening. Trying to find allies, trying to gather information, trying to be present for a man they love even when every instinct they have is telling them to run. Jenkins described this recurring theme as one of the most important emotional threads of the entire season. The idea that devastation and confusion do not automatically erase faith and loyalty. That sometimes love makes you stay even when staying is the most terrifying thing you have ever done. There is a moment near the end of episode 1 that I genuinely did not expect to hit me as hard as it did. After everything that has already unfolded, the arrest, the scattering of the disciples, the interrogation before Annas, the strike of that officer's hand, the episode pulls back and gives us something quieter. Something almost unbearably human. We see the disciples walking away from the Garden of Gethsemane together, and the conversation happening between them in that walk is exactly the kind of thing that The Chosen has always done better than any other biblical production in history. It is not a theological debate. It is not a dramatic speech. It is just people, frightened, devastated, completely lost people, trying to make sense of the worst night of their lives. And it destroys you because you know something they are only beginning to understand. You know that the worst is not behind them. It is still coming. Dallas Jenkins described this particular scene as a lesson in where to turn when you are standing in the middle of suffering, sadness, confusion, doubt, and pain. And watching it, you feel the truth of that description completely. Because what these disciples are wrestling with in those quiet steps away from the garden is not simply grief over what happened to Jesus. They are wrestling with something deeper, the terrifying gap between what they believed was going to happen and what is actually happening right now. For 3 years, they followed a man who healed the sick, raised the dead, walked on water, and fed thousands with almost nothing. They believed, with everything in them, that he was the one who was going to change everything. And now he has been arrested like a common criminal. And they do not know what to do with that. That confusion, that shattering of expectation in the face of a love they cannot abandon, is the emotional heartbeat of this entire episode. Shahar Isaac, who plays Peter, carries an almost unbearable amount of that emotional weight in this episode. Peter is a man built for action, built for boldness, built for the moment when someone needs to step forward and do something. And right now there is nothing he can do. That helplessness is written across every frame he appears in, and Shahar Isaac plays it with a quiet, simmering devastation that is truly one of the finest pieces of acting this show has ever put on screen. We have watched Peter grow across 5 full seasons. We have seen his failures and his victories. We have seen him walk on water and then sink. And now we are watching him face the one situation that all of that growth could not fully prepare him for, watching the person he loves most in the world being taken away and being completely powerless to stop it. And then there is Judas. The episode does not let you forget about Judas, even when he is not on screen. His absence from the group of disciples is a presence all its own. Every time the disciples look around at each other, you feel the empty space where Judas used to stand. Luc Dimian has played this character across multiple seasons with a complexity and a humanity that has made Judas one of the most compelling figures in the entire show. He has never been portrayed as simply evil. He has been portrayed as a man who convinced himself, step by careful step, that what he was doing was right, or at least necessary. And now, in episode 1 of season 6, we begin to see the architecture of that self-deception starting to crack. The silver is in his hands. The deed is done. And the world that Judas thought he was protecting or correcting or improving is not responding the way he imagined it would. The machinery has started moving, and it is not going to stop. And somewhere deep inside him, Judas is beginning to understand what he has actually done. The production scale of episode 1 is staggering in the best possible way. Filming for season 6 ran for 86 days, the longest production run in the show's entire history, spanning locations across Texas, Utah, and the ancient city of Matera in Italy. The visual language of this episode feels different from everything that came before it. Darker, tighter, More claustrophobic in the interior scenes, and yet enormous and open in the exterior moments in a way that makes the world feel both vast and completely indifferent to what is happening to Jesus. The cinematography communicates something that the dialogue alone could never fully carry, the idea that the universe is holding its breath. That something is happening right now, in this moment, that will change absolutely everything. Forever. Creator Dallas Jenkins said at ChosenCon that he believes Season 6 is going to impact more people than any season of this show has ever done before. After watching Episode 1, I believe him completely. Because what this episode does is not just tell a story. It makes that story yours. Elizabeth Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene, was visibly emotional on the final day of filming in a behind-the-scenes video that has already moved millions of people to tears. These are not actors going through the motions. These are human beings who poured every single thing they had into honoring this story. And Episode 1 is the proof of that poured-out devotion in every single scene. So if you have been waiting, if you have been holding your breath since Season 5 ended, if you have been carrying the anticipation of this season the way so many of us have, Episode 1 is everything you were hoping for and more painful than you were prepared for, all at the same time. It is magnificent. It is devastating. It is exactly what this story deserves. And we are only just getting started. 5 more episodes on Prime Video, and then a feature-length theatrical finale in the spring of 2027 still lie ahead of us. This journey is far from over. And I, for one, would not miss a single second of it. Now it is your turn. Did Episode 1 hit you as hard as it hit me? Which moment stayed with you the longest after the credits rolled? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and I genuinely cannot wait to hear what you felt watching this. And if this breakdown meant something to you, please hit that like button because it truly helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe so you do not miss the full breakdown of every single remaining episode this season, because we are going to walk through every moment of this together, all the way to the very end. This is The Chosen Season 6, and it is going to change you.